We have Simon from lecture, that is Introduction to Literature. We will present about the Victorian period, 1837 until 1901. Before we go into the materials, I will mention about the members of group. The first one, Andi Afifatul Ulfa. The second one, Syafina, and then Nurhasina. And the last is Andi Ahmad Syahrir as the moderator for this presentation. Okay, we move the second slide or first materials. We can see the slide. There are 3 points. The first one, social condition. The second one, Victorian literatures. And the last is connection between social condition with the theme of literary work. Social condition including such as upper class, middle class, and the last is working class. How about Victorian literatures? Victorian literatures including such as genre, prose, famous artists, poetry, and drama.
Queen Victoria is a leader in this era. The Victorian era was marked by rapid change and development. The big change that occurred in this era were the impact of Industrial Revolution. The change as a result of new discoveries in the technology and transportation industry, which caused positive and negative impact. One of the negative impact of this Industrial Revolution was a social gap, especially between the rich and the poor. In the Victorian period, social condition divided into 3 classes. The first is upper class, the second is middle class, and the last is working class. Upper class consists of the nobles, dukes, and the other wealthy family working in the Victorian court. In the middle class is people who also own and manage vast business empires. Working class was further categorized as the skilled workers and unskilled workers. The skilled worker got jobs thus improving their living condition. However, the unskilled worker who were placed below the skilled one remained employed and were vulnerable to the exploitation.
Victorian literature. The genre in the Victorian era is fiction, satirical fiction, garage fiction, non-fiction, and melodrama. Victorian literature reflects these value debates and cultural concerns. Victorian period was a time when new genres appealed to namely most audience. Religion, which aims to portray realistic event happening through realistic way, was the dominant narrative mode of the Victorian novel, but it had many variants. Satirical realism, a mode that emphasized the worth qualities of each character and suggests that the world and then fiction and non-fiction. One of the aims of the science fiction was surprise and troubled readers by challenge social conversion, but another fiction genre. And melodrama achieved popularity, upholding popular value. Melodramas deliver characters directly into those who are vicious and those who are figures. Approach much was produced during the Victorian period, some of which first, The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins. The Woman in White, which retells the story of 2 women to look strongly alike and are substitute for each other. A various point is before the famous example. The First Oliver Twins by Charles Dickens, a novel like Oliver Twins in which Dickens used the pike, Oliver's two critical, heartless knights overseas by its right boom police. And then Adam Bede by Georgia Eliot for extension she portrayed the prodigy. And then several major English male officials to the book the Huron in adults were married in Italy scholar. Last light, a famous artist, the first, Charles Dickens. Charles Dickens. Dickens is the most popular and internationally recognized British novelist. His childhood lives in atmosphere of poverty and loneliness. Dickens started his career as journalistic, and all of the novels are popularized radically. And the last, William Makepeace Thackeray. He was educated at Charterhouse and Cambridge University, which in 1915 then he was invited to become the staff of Pugminize, which the means as medium practical. His skill in the fields of humor, his very interesting novel in book of naps. Gilgalad, she was the director of Tory and broker particular he applies relation to his words of fiction and tries to remove picturesque and burlesque for his word. His most famous work is Adam Bede, King George died in 76 years old, and his grandson until 1008 years old. During the reign of George, many things were noteworthy, such as emergency of traditional periods in the political socio-economic structure in the files of government. Since Georgia strongly believes that state government is carried out by minister and parliament. Elizabeth Gaskell was a novelist and geographer. He wrote more books and books about poor people in northern England, but ended with a happy ending. And the last one, Oscar Wilde, was a playwright, poet, and novelist. Robertson's work is nothing compared to Oscar Wilde, but the popularity of Oscar comedies that are still on something like that. The comedies are full of witty stories. His most famous work is Lady Windermere's Fan.
Poetry. All of the Victorian poets show the strong influence of the Romantics, but they cannot sustain the confidence the Romantics feel in the power of the imagination. There are several poetry. Two of them are: first is the Seraphim in Poet, 1838, by Elizabeth Barrett Browning, and that is the famous poetry of Elizabeth Browning. The second is The Idylls of the King, 1859, by Alfred Lord Tennyson. The main English poet Alfred Tennyson has a long series of poems about the Arthurian legend, and this poem is also a description of the destructive nature of male and female passions. Drama. The dramatic literature of the Victorian period underwent little change due to the diminishing appreciation of the Victorian society. In the 1860, there was little change, as Queen Victoria took little interest in the art branch. Popular playwrights at the time were: first is Thomas William Ritson. He is known as a reformer of drama that is relevant to contemporary social life, when at the time drama received very little attention. His most famous work is Case, 1867. The second is Oscar Wilde, was a poet and novelist. Oscar Wilde made the popularity of Oscar comedies that are still going on today. The comedies are full of witty stories. His most famous work is Lady Windermere's Fan, 1892. And the last, Arms and the Man, is one of Bernard Shaw's earliest plays, written when he was 38 years old. It is a thought-provoking anti-romantic comedy. Was first performed in London in 1894. The success of Arms and the Man has been consistent right from its first production.
Okay, the next slide is talking about the Victorian period. That is connection between social condition with the theme of literary work. Take an example from Elizabeth North and Sylph's novel, which in her novel tells about the social differences at the time, which resulted in conflicts, including conflicts personal, social class conflict, and environmental conflict. The connection between social condition and literary work is because of the social gap that the differences cause. The most of the Victorian literature have the theme of realism and satirical realism. So I think that all of materials about the Victorian period is finished. The member of our group have been explaining the most specifically about the 3 points of Victorian period. The first one, social condition. The second one, Victorian literatures. And the last is connection between social condition with the theme of literary work. And finally, I would like to finish this presentation with this motivational quote from Queen Victoria. She said, "We will not have value, only success and new learning." So I think that's all of our group. Last say for me, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.